Smoke rose like dark clouds against the evening sky, and the sound of metal tearing echoed over the quiet valley. A massive alien ship, silver, elegant, built for royalty, was breaking apart as it fell toward the ground. Inside it, Princess Lyrina of House Valeri, a highborn alien girl, held the wall for support, trying not to fall as the corridor shook violently. Lyrina had grown up in perfect halls of crystal, marble towers, and silk walls. Her world was made of rules and respect. She was taught since childhood, never let a lower being touch you. Humans are wild and dangerous. A princess must never show fear. But right now, she was terrified. The lights flickered. Above her, sparks flew from broken wires. The air was thick with smoke. The ship's AI kept repeating, "Critical damage. Evacuate immediately." Lyrina tried to reach the escape pod room, but the floor shook again and a large metal beam crashed down behind her, blocking the way back. She coughed. Her eyes watered. She felt dizzy. Her legs trembled as another explosion shook the hallway. She knew she did not have much time left. Then through the smoke she saw a shadow, a tall figure, moving quickly but carefully, not one of her guards. Not one of her people. A human. His clothes were torn. His face was covered with dust and sweat. He looked like he had been searching through the burning wreck for a long time. His name was Evan Hawley, an explorer who lived alone on this remote planet. When he saw the alien ship fall from the sky, he grabbed whatever tools he had and ran toward the crash site. And now he had found her. Lyrina's heart jumped in shock. Her entire life, she had only seen humans in books and warnings described as violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. And now one was standing only a few steps away from her. When Evan saw her, he paused for a moment. She looked like she did not belong to this broken world, tall, graceful, with silver blue skin and bright violet eyes that still shined even in the smoke. "You're alive!" Evan shouted over the alarms. "Come on, we need to get you out of here." Lyrina tried to stand, but a sharp pain shot through her leg. Her steps were weak, unsteady. She almost fell again when the ground shook. Evan didn't wait. He rushed forward, lowering himself so she could lean on him. But when his hand touched her arm, even lightly, Lyrina gasped. For a highborn princess, physical touch from an outsider was forbidden. In her culture, it was considered insulting, unclean, a sign of disrespect. "Do not touch me," she snapped, pushing his hand away with whatever strength she had left. "You will keep your filthy human hands off." Her voice stopped suddenly. Above her, a large section of the ceiling cracked loudly. Evan's eyes widened. He didn't waste a second. Ignoring her anger, ignoring her words, he grabbed her again, this time with both arms, and pulled her close just as the ceiling collapsed. He twisted his body, shielding her with his own. Metal crashed down behind them, inches from where she had been standing. Lyrina felt his body take the hit. She heard him grunt in pain. She felt him tremble. Yet he didn't drop her. He tightened his grip and moved her away from the danger. She stared up at him, shocked, confused. Why? Why would a human protect her like this? He should have run. He should have saved himself. But he didn't. "Save your questions," he said through heavy breaths. "We need to move. Now." Another explosion echoed deeper inside the ship. Evan lifted her again, this time without hesitation, and began moving toward the opening he had come from. Lyrina wanted to protest, wanted to tell him to stop touching her. But the words did not come. She was too weak, too overwhelmed, and deep inside, too confused. Outside, the evening air was cold and fresh compared to the burning metal behind them. Evan carried her across broken ground, away from the ship as the engines finally exploded in a massive fireball. The shockwave pushed them forward. Evan held her tighter to keep her from falling. He stumbled to his knees. His arms shook. But he did not let her go. They reached a safer spot behind a cluster of rocks. Evan slowly lowered her to ground and collapsed beside her, breathing hard. Lyrina looked at him for a long time. This human, this dangerous creature she had been taught to fear, had risked his life for her, twice. His arm was bleeding. His face had cuts, but he didn't complain. He just sat there, catching his breath. Finally he spoke softly. "You're safe now. I'll figure out how to help you." Lyrina didn't know what to say. For the first time in her life, a human had touched her. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel anger, only confusion. And something she could not name. Yet, but one thing was clear. The moment he touched her, her entire world changed, and soon, she would regret every harsh word she said to him. Princess Lyrina opened her eyes slowly. Her vision was blurry at first, but she felt soft light around her, warm, gentle, nothing like the burning ship she remembered. When her sight finally cleared, she realized she was inside a small shelter made of stone and metal pieces. It was simple, rough, but surprisingly clean. She tried to sit up, but her leg hurt sharply. A cloth bandage was wrapped around it. Someone had treated her. Before she could think more, she heard quiet footsteps. Evan Hawley entered, carrying a small bowl of water. His shirt was torn, and his arm was wrapped in a dirty bandage. Even then, he looked calm, almost peaceful. "You're awake," he said softly. "Good, I was worried." Lyrina looked away immediately. She didn't want him to see the confusion in her eyes. She remembered everything, the ship breaking apart, him grabbing her, holding her, protecting her with his body. She hated the memory. But she hated something else even more, that she survived because of him. Evan placed the bowl beside her. "Drink slowly. You inhaled a lot of smoke." She stared at the water, but didn't touch it. He noticed her hesitation. "It's clean," he said with a small smile. "I boiled it twice." Lyrina did not respond. She kept her face cold, royal, distant, exactly how she had been trained since childhood. But inside, her thoughts were storming. Why did he risk himself? Why didn't he run? Why would a human care if a highborn alien lives or dies? Evan sat across the room, giving her space, clearly trying not to make her uncomfortable. His actions were gentle, careful, nothing like the violent image she had grown up hearing about humans, but his kindness only made her chest feel tighter. After a few minutes of silence, she finally spoke, her voice low, stiff, formal. "You should not have touched me." Evan looked confused. "You were trapped. The ship was collapsing. I didn't have a choice." "There is always a choice." Her tone was sharp, but her eyes were soft, almost uncertain. Evan didn't fight her words. He simply nodded. "Well, if I offended you, I'm sorry. But I'd rather offend you than watch you die." His simple honesty hit her harder than falling debris. Lyrina looked away again. She hated how her throat suddenly felt tight, how guilt crawled up inside her. She remembered how she slapped his hand, how she shouted at him, how she called him filthy while he was risking his life for her. Her upbringing told her she shouldn't care. Her pride told her she should stay angry. Her heart whispered something different. She clenched her fingers, fighting with herself. Evan stood up. "I'll check your leg again in a bit. You tore a few muscles when you fell. It'll take time to heal." He spoke like it was normal for him to care about an alien princess. Lyrina looked at his injured arm, the cut he got while protecting her. She didn't know why, but the sight bothered her. More than it should. "Your wound," she said quietly, almost whispering. "You took that injury because of me." Evan shrugged like it was nothing. "I've taken worse." Her eyes narrowed. "That is not the point." He smiled a little. "Then what is the point?" She didn't answer. She couldn't, because she didn't know. Evan stepped outside to gather wood for fire. As soon as he left, Lyrina finally let the emotion inside her show. She took a deep breath, holding her chest. She remembered her final words to him before the ceiling collapsed. "Unhand me, you filthy human." And then he saved her life without thinking twice. A sharp wave of regret hit her. She had never felt regret before. In her world, nobles never apologized, never lowered themselves, never admitted they were wrong. But now, she felt wrong. She whispered to herself, "Why did you save me?" Outside, Evan was humming softly as he worked. A simple human melody. It was peaceful, gentle, the kind of sound her royal palace never allowed. Lyrina felt strangely calm listening to it, yet the regret in her heart only grew. She remembered the feel of his arms around her as he shielded her. She remembered how he held her like something precious. She remembered how his body took the impact, meant for hers. And now, seeing his injuries, hearing his calm voice, watching him try to help her again, something changed inside her. A highborn princess was never supposed to feel this. But she couldn't stop it. For the first time in her life, Lyrina wondered if everything she was taught about humans was wrong, and if she had made the biggest mistake by treating Evan like nothing. She touched her bandaged leg gently and whispered again, this time softer, "I regret my words." But she didn't say it to him, not yet. Princess Lyrina woke the next morning to the smell of something warm. A soft fire burned near the entrance of the shelter, and Evan was sitting beside it, stirring a pot with a metal spoon. His back was to her. His shoulders looked tense, stiff-like. He had barely slept. For a moment, she simply watched him. Humans were supposed to be wild creatures, loud, unpredictable, dangerous. But this human, he moved quietly. He cooked gently. He hummed the same soft melody under his breath. It made her heart feel strange again. When Evan turned around and noticed she was awake, he stopped humming. "Oh, morning," he said with a small smile. "I found some safe plants nearby. This soup might not taste great, but it'll help you heal." Lyrina kept her expression calm and royal. She didn't want him to see the curiosity in her eyes. "What do you eat?" she asked. "Depends on the day," he answered. "I survive on what I can find." Survive. A word she never needed. She had grown up in luxury, crystal rooms, silver food trays, servants at every corner. Seeing someone cook for himself, for her felt unreal. When he handed her the bowl, she froze. She didn't want their hands to touch, but his fingers brushed hers. Anyway, her chest tightened again. This time she didn't pull away. The soup was strange but warm. Her body relaxed slightly as she drank it. Evan watched her carefully. "Is it okay?" "It is." "Acceptable," she said, trying not to show she actually liked it. He chuckled quietly. "That's the nicest thing you've said to me so far." Her face heated for the first time in her life. Highborn royalty did not blush. She quickly changed the subject. "You said you live alone. Why?" Evan poked the fire with a stick, thinking. "It's peaceful here, my people." "Well, let's say they didn't want me around much. I was different. I liked exploring too much." Lyrina tilted her head. "Different is not bad." He looked at her, surprised. Coming from a princess, that means something. She felt that strange weakness in her chest again and looked away. But before the moment could grow softer, something outside made a sharp clicking sound. A quick, metallic noise. Not human. Not natural. Evan stood instantly, grabbed a small weapon from his side, and moved toward the shelter entrance. Lyrina's eyes widened. What was that? "Something's out there," he whispered. "Stay behind me." A part of her wanted to snap. "I am royalty. I do not hide." But another part, the part that remembered how he shielded her, kept her silent. They stepped outside carefully. The morning air was cold and bright. The trees around the clearing stood tall and silent. Nothing moved. Then she saw it. A strange device was stuck into the ground near the crash site. Small, metallic, and glowing faintly. Lyrina's blood ran cold. She recognized that object. It belonged to her enemy. That is a locator shard, she whispered. My attackers use it to track survivors. Evan's eyes narrowed. So they're coming here. Yes. And they're coming for you. Yes. Evan didn't hesitate. Get inside. Pack what you can. Lyrina blinked. You will help me escape? Of course. Why? You owe me nothing. He looked at her for a long moment. I don't leave people behind. Lyrina was silent. Her people always left lesser beings behind. But this human, with no obligation, no reason, no reward. He stayed. They returned to the shelter, and Evan began preparing supplies. He moved fast, focused, determined. She watched him closely, this strange human who didn't follow any rule she understood. You are not what I expected, she finally said. Evan raised an eyebrow. Is that supposed to be an insult or a compliment? Lie, do not know. She admitted. He laughed softly. And she hated how that sound made her feel warm inside. Her eyes moved to his injured arm. The cut was deeper than she thought. The bandage was soaked with blood. You should treat your wound, she said. I'll do it later. No, now. Evan looked at her, surprised again by her tone. But he didn't argue. He sat down and began removing the old bandage, the moment. She saw the wound clearly, her heart squeezed again. He took this injury when he shielded her, because she shouted at him, because she slapped him, because she refused his help. Her hand lifted slowly, hesitantly, and she touched the skin near his wound with her fingertips. Evan froze. It was the first time a princess of her rank had ever touched a human. You don't have to, he whispered. Lyrina's voice was very soft. I know. She looked down, ashamed. This injury, it is my fault. Evan shook his head. No, it's not. Her eyes stayed on the wound. Her chest hurt. Her voice shook. I regret my words, she whispered. Evan stared at her, stunned. Before he could speak, the locator shard outside made another sharp click. Louder this time. They both looked toward the forest. The enemies had found them. And now, everything was about to change. The clicking sound grew louder, fast, sharp, and rhythmic. It echoed through the trees like a warning signal. Evan instantly stood, grabbed his pack, and checked the small energy weapon he kept at his side. Lyrina felt her heartbeat rising, an old fear returning to her chest. Her enemies had found them. Not just enemies, the same faction that destroyed her ship. The same group that wanted her dead. Evan moved to the shelter entrance and looked outside. Carefully, we need to leave, now. Lyrina tried to stand, but pain shot through her leg again. She grabbed the wall for support, her breath tight. Evan immediately turned back toward her. You can't walk fast like this, he said. I can manage, she replied, trying to appear strong. A princess never showed weakness. Her leg shook badly. Evan didn't argue. He walked straight toward her and leaned down. I'm carrying you. What? She snapped, eyes wide. You heard me. That is not appropriate. It's also not optional, he said firmly. For the first time, a human used a commanding tone with her. And strangely, her mind did not reject it. He lifted her again, careful but with no hesitation. This time she didn't fight him. This time she didn't slap him. This time she held on. As Evan carried her out of the shelter, the forest around them felt colder, darker. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow moved like a threat. The locator shard behind them clicked again, and suddenly a blast of blue energy hit the ground near them. The explosion shook the trees. Lyrina gasped and clung tighter to Evan. He didn't stop running. He didn't look back. Her voice trembled. They are close. Yeah, he said, trying to stay calm. I noticed. Another blast came from the left. Evan quickly slid behind a fallen tree trunk and placed her down gently. Stay low, he whispered. Shapes began moving between the trees, tall, armored, insect-like soldiers with glowing red visors. They scanned the area with long rifles. Searching for life signs, Lyrina shivered. "These are the Velkar hunters," she whispered. "They do not take prisoners." Evan clenched his jaw. "They're not taking you." One soldier stepped closer. Evan held his breath, waiting for the right moment. When the soldier turned slightly, Evan charged forward, silent and quick. He grabbed the alien from behind, pulled it off balance, and slammed it to the ground. Lyrina watched with wide-eyed shock, mixing with fear and something she couldn't name. Evan wasn't a trained soldier. He wasn't a royal guard. He was just a human explorer. And yet he fought. Like someone who refused to lose anything again. The alien swung its weapon. Evan dodged and used a rock to knock the creature unconscious. He grabbed the fallen rifle and rushed back to Lyrina. "We move now," he said. Before she could respond, two more hunters appeared from the right, fast, armored, deadly. Evan pushed Lyrina behind a large tree and fired the alien rifle. The shot hit one hunter in the leg, causing it to fall, but the other dove behind a rock. The forest filled with flashing lights and echoing blasts. Lyrina whispered, "Humans are not supposed to fight like this." Evan reloaded quickly. "Well, I'm not a normal human." Another blast came toward them. Evan grabbed Lyrina's hand and pulled her just in time. She felt the warmth of his grip, the urgency in his movements. "Why are you doing this?" she shouted over the fighting. "You should leave me and run." Evan looked at her with fierce eyes, hurt, determined, real. "I'm not leaving you, ever." Her breath caught. But before she could speak, the alien hunter behind the rock fired again. Evan pushed her to the ground and shielded her with his own body again as the blast hit a tree behind them, sending burning splinters flying. Lyrina felt his heartbeat against her back, fast but steady. She felt his breath on her neck. She felt his arms around her, protecting her like she was the only thing that mattered. Her face burned with emotion. She didn't want to admit that. Evan whispered harshly, "We need to reach the river. They won't track us underwater. But my leg, I'll carry you if I have to. You will get killed. Better me than you." Lyrina froze. No one had ever said those words to her before. Not her servants. Not her royal guards. Not even her own family. Better me than you. Her chest tightened painfully. This time not from fear, but from something deeper, unfamiliar. Before either of them could speak more, 3 more hunters appeared from the trees, closing in like a trap. Evan grabbed Lyrina's arm. "Run!" she tried. She really tried. But her leg failed again. She stumbled forward. Evan scooped her up instantly and sprinted toward the river. While laser blasts burned the ground behind them, the forest roared with war. The river roared ahead of them. Lyrina clung to him, heart pounding. She whispered into his shoulder, voice shaking, "I was wrong about you." But Evan had no time to answer. The hunters were almost on them, and the river was their only escape. Evan ran with Lyrina in his arms, sprinting toward the wide river that cut through the valley. The sound of water crashing over rocks grew louder with each step. Behind them, the Velkar hunters moved fast, too fast, and their red glowing visors cut through the trees like fire. Lyrina felt every heartbeat, every breath, every painful wince from Evan's injuries. He was pushing himself far beyond his limit, and she knew it. "Evan, put me down," she whispered urgently. "You will collapse." He shook his head, breath heavy but steady. "Not a chance. You cannot carry me forever. I only need to carry you until we reach the water." "But you cannot fight in the river." "Don't need to," he cut in. "They can't track us once we're underwater." Lyrina knew he was right. Velkar technology struggled in moving water. But her guilt grew stronger with every step he took for her. Finally, they reached the riverbank. The water rushed loudly over rocks, white foam spraying into the air. Evan stepped in, boots sinking into the cold water. Lyra not gasped as the icy river hit her skin. "You will freeze." "We don't have a choice," he replied. He moved deeper, water rising up to his waist, then his chest. Lyrina wrapped her arms around his neck, holding on tightly. She could feel him shiver, hear his breath catch in the cold, but he kept going. When the water was deep enough, Evan spoke close to her ear. "Hold your breath. We're going under." Lyrina nodded, trusting him more than she trusted her own instincts. They both inhaled deeply, and Evan pushed them beneath the surface. The freezing shock hit her instantly. The water roared in her ears, drowning every other sound. Evan held her firmly, pulling them along underwater with strong strokes. She felt his strength, his determination, his refusal to let go. Above them, pale shapes moved along the riverbank. Velkar hunters searching, scanning, confused. Lyrina's lungs burned, but she held on. Finally, Evan lifted them above the surface further downstream. They gasped for air, both shaking from cold and exhaustion. He helped her onto a rocky shore hidden by tall grass. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Lyrina whispered, "You almost died, again, because of me." Evan sat beside her, dripping, breathing hard. "You didn't ask me to, I chose it. That does not make it better." "Then, what does?" he asked, voice softer now. Lyrina looked at him, struggling. She had always been taught that humans were selfish creatures, crude, dangerous, untrustworthy. But Evan had done the exact opposite of everything she believed. He risked himself without hesitation, protected her without reward, stood between her and death twice. She swallowed hard. "There is something you do not know about my people," she said quietly, "about what happens when a human touches a highborn like me." Evan frowned. "You said it was forbiddens." "It is more than forbiddens," she replied. "It is symbolic. Touch means trust. Touch means connection. Touch means choosing each other above everyone else." Evan's eyes widened slightly. "I didn't know." "I know you didn't," she whispered. "But my culture, my family, would see your touch as something intimate, something sacred. Something only chosen companions do." He froze. "Wait. You're saying that me carrying you, saving you, would look like—" "Yes." Her voice trembled. "Like I have chosen you." Evan blinked in shock, face flushing. "But you didn't choose me." Lyrina looked down. Her fingers brushed the river surface, trembling. "I did not choose you," she said softly. "But you chose me, again and again. Even when I was cruel. Even when I rejected you." Evan said nothing. For the first time, Lyrina felt small, not because she was weak, but because she finally understood how big his sacrifice truly was, and her pride cracked open. "You studied my people, Evan," she continued. "You knew our language. You knew our symbols. You knew our ways. Why?" Evan hesitated. Then he told her the truth. "I learned your language so one day I could talk to your people. I wanted peace with them. I wanted to stop the fighting before it ever started." Lyrina stared at him, stunned. "You wanted peace?" "I still do," he said quietly. "I didn't want our species to fear each other forever." Lyrina's chest tightened painfully. She had never heard a human speak like this. Not even her own leaders spoke with this much sincerity. She whispered, "You studied us for peace, and I treated you like a monster." Evan gave a tired smile. "Lyrina, it's okay." "It is not okay," she whispered. "I misjudged you deeply." They sat in silence, listening to the river. Then Lyrina spoke again, voice trembling with emotion she could no longer hide. "You are not a monster. Evan, you are the only reason I'm still alive." Her words hung in the air like something fragile. Then suddenly, a distant clicking sound echoed through the forest again. Evan stiffened. Lyrina's eyes widened. "They found us again," she whispered. and this time, the hunters were even. Closer. The clicking sound echoed again, sharper, closer, like the forest itself was warning them. Evan immediately stood up, gripping the alien rifle tightly. His clothes were wet, his breathing rough, and his injuries clearly hurting him. Yet he positioned himself between Lyrina and the danger without hesitation. Lyrina could feel her pulse racing. Not from fear of the hunters, but from fear of losing him. The Velkar hunters emerged through the trees, like shadows with glowing red eyes. Their tall bodies moved smoothly, their armor reflecting the sunlight in hard, cold angles. They scanned the area, their strange voices crackling through their helmets. Evan whispered, "Stay behind me." "No," Lyrina said softly, surprising. "Both of them. This time, I stay with you." He looked at her, really looked, and something unreadable passed through his eyes. But there was no time to speak. The hunters raised their weapons. Evan grabbed Lyrina's arm and pulled her behind a rock, just as a blast of blue energy tore through the grass where they had been standing. He fired back, but the alien rifle hummed weakly. It was nearly out of power. "Damn it," Evan muttered. "We're low on shots." Lyrina's heart squeezed painfully. She had seen countless battles in her royal life, but this was different. She wasn't watching soldiers fight far away. She was watching Evan, the human who saved her again and again. Stand in front of danger meant for her. Two hunters flanked them, approaching from both sides. Evan pushed Lyrina back gently. "If they get close, you run. Don't think. Don't wait. Just run." "No," she whispered, voice cracking. "You will not do this alone." "This isn't up for debate," he said firmly. But Lyrina reached out and grabbed his wrist. For the first time she touched him willingly. Evan froze in shock. Her fingers trembled on his skin. "I will not watch you die because of me." The moment was so raw, so honest, that Evan could only stare. Then the hunters fired again. Evan shielded her instantly, taking her down behind the rock. A spray of dirt and sparks flew over their heads. He groaned softly, his injured arm was shaking. Lyrina felt something break inside her. She leaned close to him, voice urgent, emotional. "There is something you do not know, something important." Evan blinked. "Now?" "Yes, now." Another blast hit the rock they hid behind. Evan tightened his hold on the rifle. Lyrina continued quickly, voice trembling with fear and truth. "My bloodline carries a defensive gift, a psychic shield. But it works only when I touch someone willingly, someone I trust." Evan stared at her, stunned. "You trust me?" Her eyes glistened. "I did not at first, but now, yes, more than anyone." Before Evan could answer, a hunter jumped over the rock. Everything happened at once. Evan turned to shoot, but the rifle finally died, its energy drained. The hunter raised its blade-like arm, aiming for Evan's neck. Lyrina didn't think. She threw herself forward, grabbed Evan's hand with both of hers, and the air exploded with light. A shimmering dome of violet and silver erupted around them. It rippled like water, glowing bright enough to blind the hunter. The alien slammed into the shield and flew back as if struck by invisible force. Evan stared in shock. What did you do?" "My shield," Lyrina said, breathing heavily. "I activated it, through you." Her hands were still holding his. Their faces were close. The glowing barrier pulsed with their combined heartbeat. "You could have told me earlier." Evan gasped. "I did not trust you earlier," she said honestly. He blinked, then laughed breathlessly. "Fair enough." The hunters surrounded them, firing again and again, but every blast bounced off the shimmering dome. Sparks flew. The air hummed loudly with energy. Evan looked at her with something new in his eyes, something softer, deeper. "You're amazing," he whispered. Lyrina's chest warmed painfully. "I am only alive because of you. You forced me to see the truth." "What truth?" "That humans are not what I was taught." Her voice cracked. You are not unclean. You are not dangerous. You are not lesser. Another blast hit the shield, but she didn't flinch. You are brave. You are loyal. You are kind. And you are, she swallowed hard, worth trusting. Evan's expression softened completely, but the shield flickered. Lyrina gasped. It will not hold long. My injury is too deep. My energy is low. Evan grabbed her shoulders gently. Then we need to move, together. The shield flickered again, sparks bursting from its edges. Evan lifted her, holding her close. She didn't fight it this time. She clung to him, not out of weakness but out of choice. He whispered, I've got you. She whispered back, and I have you. The shield shattered, and they ran. The hunters roared behind them as the broken energy crackled in the air. Evan carried her toward the mountain ridge, where she said help might come. But neither of them knew. They were only running into a far greater danger. Evan ran with Lyrina in his arms through the narrow mountain path. The shield had broken, the hunters were gaining, and the sky above them had turned dark with smoke and storm clouds. His steps were heavy. His breath was sharp. Every muscle in his body screamed in pain. But he didn't stop. Lyrina looked over his shoulder at the advancing hunters. Her heart twisted painfully. She could see how badly Evan's body shook. His injured arm was almost limp. Cuts covered his skin, and every step sent agony through his legs. Evan, she whispered, put me down, please. No, he said between breaths. Not happening. You will die like this. Then I die carrying you. Her chest tightened. Humans were supposed to be selfish, cold, untrustworthy. But this human was willing to die. For someone he met only days ago. At the top of the ridge, the ground opened into a wide cliff. Far below, there was a valley covered in mist. On the opposite side, barely visible through the fog, Lyrina saw the faint blue glow of her people's rescue ships. But the hunters were too close. They are nearly here, she said urgently. I know, Evan whispered. Another blast fired from behind. Evan turned his body, shielding her again. The energy struck his back. He stumbled forward, coughing in pain. Lyrina gasped. Evan. He fell to his knees but forced himself back up, lifting her again. She felt his heartbeat slowing. She felt his breath shaking. She felt the truth. He could not go any farther. The hunters reached the ridge, their weapons glowing. They formed a half circle around them, blocking the way back. A Velkar commander stepped forward, its voice buzzing through the helmet. Return the princess. Human, your life may be spared. Evan tightened his grip on Lyrina. Not happening. The commander raised its weapon. Lyrina looked at Evan, really looked. She saw the injuries he hid from her. She saw the bruises, the burns, the exhaustion. And she knew. If she let him fight again, he would die. She placed a trembling hand on his cheek. Evan, look at me. He turned, eyes tired but still burning with stubborn fire. You saved my life, she whispered. Again and again. Even when I treated you badly. Even when I did not trust you. Even when I called you filthy. Evan tried to smile. It's okay. You didn't know me then. Tears formed in her eyes. I regret everything I said to you. Evan opened his mouth to respond, but a blast hit the ground near them, forcing them apart. Evan pushed Lyrina behind a rock and stood between her and the hunters, unarmed now. Only his body left to protect her. Lyrina screamed. Evan, stop. You cannot fight like this. He didn't turn around. He didn't back down. He spread his arms wide, putting himself fully between her and the enemy. If anyone touches her, he shouted, they go through me first. The hunters aimed their weapons. Lyrina felt something snap inside her. She stood up, ignoring her pain, and grabbed Evan's shirt, pulling herself beside him. No, she whispered fiercely. They will go through us. The hunters fired, But a blinding beam of blue light suddenly shot down from above, striking the ground in front of them. The force sent the hunters flying backward. Lyrina looked up that her people's rescue ship had finally arrived, massive, glowing, descending like a star. Royal guards dropped from the vessel, landing between them and the hunters. Evan collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Lyrina caught him, holding his face in her hands. "Evan, stay with me," he smiled weakly. "Told you I wouldn't leave you." Royal guards surrounded them. One guard lifted a weapon toward Evan, anger in his voice. "Human, do not touch the princess." Lyrina stepped in front of Evan instantly. "Lower your weapon," she commanded. "He saved me. You will show him respect." The guard froze. "Princess, he touched you. That is forbidden." Lyrina raised her chin proudly. "I touched him back." Evan stared at her, stunned. The guard stared at her, speechless. And for the first time, Lyrina didn't feel ashamed of the truth. She helped Evan to his feet, supporting him gently. Her voice softened, meant only for him. "Do you see now?" she whispered. "I choose you, just as you chose me." His eyes softened. "I didn't know royalty was allowed to choose humans." She smiled, weak, tired, but real. "Royalty is allowed to choose anyone, if their heart is brave enough." More guards arrived. The hunters retreated. The battlefield quieted. But something inside Lyrina remained loud, full of emotion she never expected to feel. Pain, fear, respect, admiration, and something else she wasn't ready to name yet. As medics approached, Evan swayed. She caught him quickly. "Lyrina," he whispered. "I'll be okay." She held his hand tightly, no longer afraid of the touch. "You will," she said, "because I am not leaving you either." The guards exchanged confused looks. The princess of a powerful alien empire, choosing to stand with a human. Lyrina whispered to herself, voice trembling. "I regret every moment I pushed him away. But I will not regret choosing him now." And with that, she stepped into the rescue ship with Evan by her side. Their story had just begun.